A few weeks ago, I transferred all the plants and moss from this terrarium into this larger terrarium because they were outgrowing the smaller one. What a great problem to have! It also left me with this empty terrarium to plant. Another great problem to have. This time, I made sure to get plants that won't reach the top of the terrarium in under a year. I got 3 new plants from Hertz Gardens that will be the focal points, a Begonia foliosa red planet that won't grow more than 5 inches tall, a Pellionia daveuana or rainbow Pellionia that will get to about 4 inches before it starts to drape over and vine, and a Leptinella gruveri or fairy fern that never gets more than a 1/2 inch tall. And it's actually a ground cover, so I'm going to divide it and put it in a couple of different spots. Look at this thing, will ya? It's so adorable, it's giving me cute aggression. I've also got a teensy bit of Ficus pumila quercifolia left over from the last terrarium, so I'll tuck that in there too. Aren't they cute? I love tiny plants. I mean, it's right there in my channel name. I also got some pagoda stones, these little sandstone rocks that look like eroded cliffs. So I'm going to give this terrarium some levels.
Levels.
That's right, a tiny white cliff of Dover right in this terrarium. And since I'm not working with a lot of depth here, I'm going to put some of the fairy fern on top and maybe the ficus too. We'll see where it all fits as I go. Then, of course, I've got some more moss and lichen from Tin Roof Treasure to fill in any bare spots. And this time, I'm going to try to make a little pond at the bottom of the cliff with these little pieces of blue glass. I've tried this before, but it wasn't very visible because the soil under it was so dark. So this time, I'll line it with weed blocker fabric and make a base with some light-colored sand. I think I'm going to go with green, and then I'll press the glass into it. Hope it works this time. Wish me luck. Let's start with the layers. Lava rock to absorb excess water. Some charcoal to filter impurities out of the water. And circle of weed blocker fabric so the soil doesn't get mixed in with the lava rock and charcoal. If it mixes all together, the lava rock won't absorb water as well as if you keep them separated. Next comes a base layer of soil. I want it to be deep enough to support the 2 larger plants, the Pellionia and the Begonia. So it needs a couple of inches. Before I add any plants, I'm going to build the cliff. I'll have to work 1 stone at a time, build up the soil behind it as I go. I left a little open space at the top of the cliff to put some of the fairy fern and the ficus in. And I'll add a bit of soil on top of that to make sure they stay in. Now, the Begonia and the Pellionia. I was going to put the rest of the fairy fern at the bottom, but if I do, it's gonna block my cool little wall here. So I'm gonna leave that out and use that in the other large terrarium, which still had some bare spots in it. And now it's time to make that little pond. I've got my weed blocker fabric here. And some green sand. And then I'll just press these little pieces of blue glass into it. And here we have a pond. Okay, all that's left to do is tuck some moss and lichen in to cover the soil. And now some pretty little stones to border the pond. And of course, our little fairy house. I'm sure the fairies will appreciate the fairy fern since it's named after them. Now, you know I'm not done. It's time to give it a good long misting and saturate the soil. And wipe down the inside, since the wet walls can cause any leaves touching it to rot. And there you have it, the finished terrarium. But most importantly, this last crucial step that can make or break it, leaving the lid halfway open. If you close the lid all the way right after you've built it and misted it, you run the risk of mold growing in there. If you leave it open for a day or two, some of the water will evaporate and the humidity will be more balanced. Then I probably won't even have to water it for several more months. That's why I love terrariums. They're really fun to build, and the closed ones are super low maintenance. But the absolute best part of terrarium building is that your only limits are the space inside it and your imagination. Want to build a desert oasis? Get some succulents and cacti and cover the soil with sand. Want to make a waterfall in your terrarium? Get a pump and a container for the water to spill into. The moss will love it. Want to make an alien landscape? Get some weird looking plants and rocks and cover the soil with orange and purple gravel. And speaking of desert terrariums, maybe I should make one of those next. Have you ever built a super weird alien looking terrarium? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comments, and please like and subscribe to my channel and hit that bell to be notified when I release a new video. You can also find me on Instagram at planty.jen, where I share photos and tips as well. If you'd like to learn more about me, please visit my website at plantyjenstinylandscapes.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Time for that theme song.
If your plants look sad and you lost all hope, tried everything, you're at the end of your rope. Should you throw them out into the street? Nope, just ask Planty Jen. If you wanna be a planty acolyte, learn the tips and tricks to keep them growing right. Water, fertilizer, and the right amount of light, just ask Planty Jen.